wrote that? So-called spray tan expert. What a load of rubbish! Obviously don't manufacture. Okay, there's been a lot written, obviously that's wrong, and there's been a lot in the industry. The so-called professionals can't get it right. Let's have a look at colour bases. So, what is a colour base exactly? It's not hard and it's not rocket science. Let's have a little look at it. The violet base was actually introduced and manufactured by Mediterranean Tan, the very first and still the only true violet base. And how did we do that? Well, it's actually quite interesting. Obviously, according to the article that I've just read, that is very wrong. It's just bronzers. Well, we know that others will just add a fair bit of bronzer and try and copy what we have spent probably 5 years before we released developing the true violet base. So what is the violet base? How would the others know? How would they not know? Well, one of the things that we do, having a nursing background, a research degree and a science degree, was able to put together a combination of processes that actually allowed a base to change. Because as you know, DHA is clear. So what happens to their base when they use a clear product? Does it change? Is it different? Well, that's what the expert knows. So Mediterranean Tan actually developed up the first violet base, so why don't you come to us and ask us what it's all about? It's pretty simple. What I noticed was happening was there was what we call green base around, which again, most people don't understand because there's probably only 1 or 2 true green bases on the market. The rest of them just use bronzers. So what we do, we have developed up a formula. It's like making a cake. You know, you can have the same ingredients and it's how you either add the egg and the butter and the milk and the way you then blend that, you can end up with a beautiful cake. You can cream, butter, egg, sugar, milk, and you can end up with a scone. 2 very different processes. But if you're not a manufacturer, which obviously these guys aren't, they're going to have no idea. And so all they see is the end result. So the end result will look a tiny little bit greeny or a tiny little bit violety. Thus, the green base and the violet base. And they think they can replicate this with bronzers. Do you want to know the true trick? We've reverse engineered their product and it's bronzer. So for us, what we sit back and go is how can we really tell the difference and why did it start? So let's go back, all the way back to had less wrinkles, 2011. What I was trying to find was a really dark tan for me that wasn't throwing some orange. Because, you know, we don't really like the orange colour. And what I found after talking to a hairdresser and my chemist was that we can move things around to basically change what we get the end result. So it's a bit like when we put a violet toner onto like a bronzy tip, it tones it down a little bit. But that is not just an instant colour that we pop on, that's an actual process that happens. So unlike the people that just add bronzers into their spray tan, that doesn't change anything, whereas our whole process changes the result. So what do? How do you fix that? Without giving away my manufacturing secret, which I'm not going to do, let's have a look at how and why we developed it and how it works. So the colour wheel is pretty self-explanatory and it works really well on hair. It also works reasonably well on your skin tone, but you've got to understand the chemical process behind base change. And if you don't understand that, you can't explain it. Obviously, whoever wrote this didn't understand it. As they say, the bronzers make little influence on the end colour. Well, that's actually true. The bronzers don't. It's the base that actually influences your end colour. So obviously, whoever wrote this from Adore and all the products that they carry, obviously only have bronzers. They don't have bases. So let's have a look at really what happens. When you change a base, the whole colour changes, the end result, like processing of your hair colour with your violet toner. So how do we choose where to start and where to finish? one of the reasons that I was throwing a little bit of a colour with a normal green base, and with those other ones, whatever they are, I was there way earlier, was that have a look at our little colour chart. We've got, you know, some well-known personalities here, so you can sort of relate that when you've got a bit of a pinky tinge or tone to your skin, a green base is more likely to counteract that colour on your skin. That's the base, not the bronzer. The bronzer is this instant colour that washes off. And the whole idea is that, you know, if we could get a really nice chocolate bronzer on a violet base, we would do that. And that's probably what's going to get released soon. And our clear violet base is really going to throw the market into a spin, because how do I get a violet base without the violet bronzer? So the whole idea is that what we've done, you can line up two products, exactly the same ingredients. You can process one way, like my scone. You can process one the other way, like my beautiful sponge cake. One's going to come out green base, one's going to come out violet base. Same bronzers added, which is the difference. So we're going to get back to our pinkish skin tone. And the rosy tone tends to be better if we counteract with a green base. And it does make a difference to the end result, but it also makes a difference to that instant bronzer. The base will actually change the bronzer. So we're looking here and we're going, okay, the green base sort of counteracts that reddy orangey sort of tone in your skin. Make sense? Pretty simple. So a violet base then, where we use a violet base. So a violet base is better for those people that have a bit of a yellowy skin in their tone in their skin. And that has been mistaken for olive. So the whole idea is that, again, we look across the colour wheel. So someone that has a bit of an olivey tone to their skin or a yellowy tone to their skin, we'd start off with a violet base. Now that's not to say it's going to be perfect for everyone, but it just tends to process better and you get a better colour. Now unlike this article, the violet bases aren't necessarily good for just your darker skin tones. They've got it wrong. Your violet base is really good on your fairer skin tones. It's counteracting. So that's one of the mistakes that people don't understand when they don't manufacture. And there's very few manufacturers in the world. And so one of the things is that you need to actually understand what the base is doing and the actual chemical process behind that base. Not just the fact that I've picked up an article and I've decided to write something without getting the actual chemical facts about it. So it's wrong to assume that a violet base is just ideal for a darker skin tone. In fact, it's opposite. They're ideal if they have the yellowy skin tone in their Casper white state. It's no different with my real skin type ones that throw a pinky state. They're better towards a green base. It's no different when you have a darker skin tone that's a bit pinky. We would go a green base. So the whole idea about this, this sort of mental thing that the darker people only have these, sort of colours is so wrong. But it's so simple to correct it. Have a look at someone. Is their skin tone a little yellowy or is it a little pinky? It's no different when we do makeup. We look at people's veins. Are they a little blue or are they, a little green? We do the same thing with the skin of our spray tan. Pretty simple. If they're looking a little yellowy, no matter what skin type, 1, 2 or 3, the Nicole Kidmans, the Jennifer Aniston's, the Penelope Cruz, 1, 2 or 3, start violet. If they look a little pinky, again, skin type 1, skin type 2 or skin type 3, the Nicole Kidmans, the Jennifer Aniston's, the Penelope Cruz, start green base and go from there. Your client's either going to really like the colour that it throws or they're not. Some people don't like the instant bronzer of the product. That's fine, that all washes off, we know that. It's about where the result will be the next day. But the other thing that the clients may or may not like is they may not like the instant bronzer in the short term when they're waiting. So if they don't, swap your base around, choose a different product. But always start here because it's the end result that we're all looking for. I hope that's clarified bases for you. Stay tuned when we do a clear violet base.